I had this reoccurring dream last night. That's why I'm drinking Red Bull. I'm trying to get my head together. And the reoccurring dream is horrible. I'm back in the military. It's horrible. I'm back in the military, and there's like this thing in my head of like, God, why'd I sign the paper? I'm stuck in here for 4 years, and I'm this age. So it's like 4 years. That's going to make me, that's 4 years of my life. I don't have much left. And I've had this dream ever since I got out of the military. And there's always this quandary of like, I'm going out to sea. What do I do? My dogs can't go. What do I do with my animals? Me trying to convince myself it'll go fast, but I know it won't go fast. It's going to go slow. It's 4 years. The whole 4 year timeline is true when I was in the military, but it's also true about Trump, and I think that that's what it has to do with it. I do worry about the country with Trump in charge. This isn't, if Mitt Romney was in charge, I wouldn't be having a problem with this. I'd just be like, oh, fucking Hillary lost, Or I might have voted for Mitt. I don't know. I vote Republican or Democrat. I just vote for whoever seems like the most sane. And in this case, the most insane person that's ever run for president. The wackiest. That's rude and just nasty to women. And if I was Muslim, I'd be scared. I bet Muslim people are scared. He was voted into office, so we're stuck with him for 4 years. So I assume that that's what the dream was about. That's my reoccurring dream. I have the other one where I'm a zookeeper in the alien zoo. It's very visual. But I don't have that as much as I do. I'm back in the military. How do I get out of this? How do I bring my dog on board, My dogs, my animals. Usually I'm not even on the ship. I'm not. It's just like I for some reason I joined up again, and then I'm like come to my senses like, God, I got to get out of this. What do I do? What do I do? There's nothing we can do about Trump. It's going to be 4 years. I find it hard to believe that Trump will get a second term. That's I can't imagine this going well. He promised too much, clearly. Some of the stuff he just can't pull off. The country isn't like that. He's not a dictator, I can't imagine him doing a 4 year. Maybe he'll surprise everyone. Maybe this was all just show, but it just seemed like it was too consistent for it to just be show. It just seemed like that's really sort of who he is this, guy that has this entitlement, was born with, all this silver spoon in his mouth, has all this dough because his daddy gave him $14 million. A small amount of money. That's a small amount of money in the 60s. $14 million. Are you fucking kidding me? It's just amazing. I'm just amazed that the majority of the people that voted for Trump are not rich people. They aren't. This was rural, Up where I live, man, I'm probably the only person that was like, had any common sense about it. Everybody else, I love the people up there, I don't have any problems with anybody. This guy that I think's hysterical on Facebook, right? This dog trainer friend of mine, he voted for Trump. Everybody sort of had their reason for doing it. It just seemed like, which is more sane, but the less sane person, the more insane person, the more the person that's rude to women and xenophobic and seems racist and all these bad things that his party was turning their back on him, was voted into office. The people did speak, and they spoke loudly that they did not want a career politician They did not, and they pretty much said that we don't care. This is what we got. This is what we're going to vote. We're going to vote for entertainment factor, which plays into my YouTube channel, but it really doesn't play into the country. So, do you understand? I can do other shit on my YouTube channel, but now I will be doing stuff about Donald J. Of course, you know. I'll be making animatronic sculptures of Donald Trump. I've already made one of Giuliani cornholing a homeless guy. I've made that one. I might have to dust that one off. It's in my barn, you know. Giuliani is going to be in the White House. He's going to be in the cabinet. Giuliani's an asshole. I lived in New York during Giuliani, and, you know, he was horrible. He was horrible to homeless people. He's the one that started Stop and Frisk, you know. So for 20 years, they would just pull me over and search me, looking for weed and shit, you know. That's all fine and dandy. I want to say this very clear. If you're a woman, you've never had this happen, right? Or if you're some white guy and you've never had this happen. But if you dress like me and you've had this happen over and over and over again, you look the way that I look. I don't look, you know, for some reason they just seem to think that I got weed on me. That's what they were looking for. But when it happens over and over and over again, it's rude. You know, my civil rights were being violated for 20 years because of Giuliani, and he's going to be back in office. Nobody has a right to be going through anybody's fucking pockets, and that's a motherfucker that's going to be working for Donald J. fucking Trump. My father would have voted for Trump. He would have. Oh, absolutely. My father had a carry permit. My dad was a hardcore Republican. He would have voted for anybody that would have said something like that. Like, you know, the stuff that he said, like, just hit him. That was my dad. That was my dad. He, you know, I hit him and asked, you know, we'll figure it out later. You know. I don't know. Oh, well, my dad passed away a few years ago. I would be, you know, not talking to my dad right now. We would be in a fight, I'm sure, because I would have said something to my dad about, like, yeah, he's horrible to women, Dad. But I would hear my dad say stuff in regards to women that were just like, really? You're not saying this in front of your wife, I see. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would say things that were like, just like outrageous. He would have liked Donald J. Trump. He would have. I know he would have. Because I asked Susan, his wife, I said, Dad would have been voting for Trump, right? And she said, oh, yeah, definitely. You know, my dad wanted the Republican Party, and a lot of it had to do with firearm rights. Like, my dad had a curio license. He could own full auto. He could own all kinds of stuff. So he had a license through the ATF. So it wouldn't matter. It could be a fucking pig, and if it was the Republican Party candidate, my dad would have voted for it. But Donald Trump really was sort of in line with my dad's kind of mentality. My dad would say, just stupid racist shit. You know, half of it he didn't even believe. You know, he didn't. I talked to him. I go, well, you realize everybody's born the same. You know, everybody's the same when you're born. And there's just like, because you grow up in different environments and stuff, you have different outlooks on life. So you have to take that into consideration and have compassion for your fellow man. But I didn't grow up in the times that my dad grew up in. You know, I didn't have my father's experiences. My father and his girlfriend at one point were robbed in like a Blockbuster video, and everybody in the video store was, you know, put into the storage area. It was like 3 guys, And I think from that point on, my dad was like, fuck it, I'm going to get a carry license. And that's what he did. He never wanted to feel helpless again. Well, I was robbed driving a cab 3 different occasions. I've never felt the need to get a carry license, you know. But then again, as I get older and I have more trouble walking, I would have more trouble protecting myself. I had more of a, my father boxed, but I clearly went further in like martial arts and fighting than my dad did. So I think that that's also plays in the part why I don't feel a need that I need to protect myself with a gun right now. You know, my hip is shot and so is my knee, but I could still use Greco. You know, I have upper body that's fine. So you'd still have to be pretty big to fuck with me. It's a fact. Or have knowledge equal to mine. So I don't feel the need. And people that are trained don't go around starting shit. Do you see what I'm saying? So every time I've had to protect myself as, you know, as an adult, it was always somebody that had no training and it was like easy. So I don't feel the need. I never walk around afraid. A lot of times I have a large dog with me anyway. So even like out here, like last year, somebody came up behind me and was going to rob me. I didn't have a dog with me. I just, you know, did my shit. And, you know, the guy walked down the street with me walking after him. But I don't feel the need to carry a weapon, you know. Donald J. Trump, you know. I guess I'm not going to lose my gun rights. That's a plus, you know. Maybe he'll loosen up the grip on handguns. I don't own a handgun. I don't. I've never really felt the need to go get one. And I don't want to fill out a bunch of paperwork. So I am sort of like a Republican in that I don't want to give the government, you know, why do I have to go through all this information for something that is really basically no different than, you know, my shotgun, or it fires projectiles and that's it. It's no different than me buying a chainsaw. I could kill somebody with a chainsaw, or I could kill somebody with a can of gasoline. But to get a handgun, because they are primarily used to protect oneself or to, as my dad said, handguns are used to, like he'd say, well, this is used to stop a man. This is used to stop a bigger man. That's what handguns are made for, protection. You know, maybe everything will be loosened up and I'll get one just for target practice. Now, I've used air guns in target practice for years, but I've never really felt the need to, you know, get a 9mm. Because I don't feel like I need to be protecting myself that way. As I get older, maybe I'll change my tune and I'll be like my dad. Or maybe if I was in the Blockbuster like my dad was, you know, with these 3 guys with guns, I might feel more helpless. Every time I was robbed in my cab, it was like one dude, you know. And I was doing a job that is like the most dangerous job, cab driving. Right below being a lumberjack. Oh, I hope I don't have that reoccurring dream again. That shit sucks. I never want to be in the military again. If you're thinking about joining the military, this would probably be a good time to do it, because you got Donald J. Trump. He says that he's going to add to our military. Republicans always are good to the military, it seems. So, I don't know. It's fucked up. That is not Mitt Romney that we have. If it was Mitt, I'd have no problems.